Our story starts in a dimly lit cave, crawling with the monsters that we love to hate. The big goblin lying on the floor must be the chief, and the little ones trying to loot his body are the mindless bastards. They can't even figure out who will take the wooden club. Two little goblins settled their argument over who gets to be the next chief in the only way they could, by fighting it out. Whoever survives is on the right. If you see goblins fighting, you better close your eyes because they are very brutal. They would scratch, bite, and use every dirty trick in the book while cursing at each other. As for the rest of the goblin lair, they naturally gravitate toward the violence. They would form a circle and cheer for the combatants to finish each other off. Among the audience, one goblin remembered that the chief had left some untouched prey deeper in the cave. Now that no one technically owns the prey, they can go and take it for themselves. There is one problem with that plan, though. There is a guy guarding the prey quite fiercely. That guy they are talking about is about to return to the prey spot and stand guard. This dude they were talking about was also a goblin, but he's not like the other goblins. As he walks to the prey, the rest of the goblin lair stares at him with revulsion and hatred. He's been widely known as the Guardian of the Prey, a disgusting creature that covers his body up like a human. Some of the goblins think that he's just keeping the prey for himself, so they all thought the same thing. They just have to follow the guard until they reach the prey. But some of the more cautious goblins wanted to wait a bit longer, as some guys had already gone to scour the cave to find the prey right after the chief died. Those are tough goblins too. Once the fighting starts, the smarter and more cautious ones can swoop in. Of course, the outcast goblin named Lin Tian heard everything that these bastards were saying and whispering behind his back. Then, he heard screaming and a desperate call for help from a woman coming from deep within the cave. It prompted him to run as fast as he could. As he laid eyes upon the entrance of the chief's room, the pleas for help grew louder and louder. Lin Tian ran faster than he had ever run before and slid into the dark room. The prey was fighting for her life as goblins held her down to the ground. She started crying and begging for help even more desperately as the hot breaths and grubby hands of the goblins touched her body. Lin Tian appealed to the goon goblins to let her go. To no avail. In this room, skeletal remains of all kinds of creatures were scattered all over. The biggest goblin in the room stood up to the freak outcast, insisting that the prey was now his after the chief's death. If the freak disagreed with that and dared to take his prey, then he could just die at the hands of these goon goblins. 3 goons charged at him from the front. They were clumsy, but they had the numbers advantage. Dodging was the only feasible move. Lin Tian couldn't believe that these low-level goblins were giving him a hard time. Defending, they ineptly scratched and bit his skin, tearing up his cloak, but Lin Tian gritted his teeth and locked in. He couldn't just die here. He was only getting started. He needed to survive. His desperation led to goblin blood being spilled on the floor. Once the first goblin was felled, the other 2 were afflicted with the fear of being next. Lin Tian had brought out his roughly made dagger to take one down and scare the other 2. He raised the janky blade and threatened to kill them if they did not leave at once. These bastards only act tough when they feel secure that they can overwhelm an enemy, but in the face of real danger, they would 100% fold. That is what happened. They were so cocky while declaring that the prey belonged to them. But at the first sight of a weapon, they ran for their pathetic lives. He heaved a sigh of relief. His adrenaline was through the roof. The girl came up to him to ask if he was okay and to thank him for saving her once again. Unlike the other goblins, Mr. Outcast never laid a finger on her. He would even lay his life on the line to protect her again and again. She doesn't want him to die or be harmed in any way because he's not like the other goblins. The girl says that it has always been that way. Lin Tian was once a human too. He first awakened in the same miserable room where the prey was stashed. He did not expect that instead of meeting God after being hit by a dump truck, he'd be transported to another world with a system instead. Although Lin Tian has one of those OP systems, it has still not been fully activated. Other than being able to see some of his stats, it does not seem to have any other useful functions. However, he has not been idle these past few days. He has been talking with Kelia, the woman who had been taken as prey, for quite some time now. From the stories and facts she shared, Lin Tian has gained some semblance of understanding about this mystical world. Unlike the previous world he lived in, this realm, created by God, houses various powerful races, creatures, and monsters like majestic dragons and insidious demons. Humans have carved out their place on this warring continent with their fierce strength. As for the goblin race that Lin Tian reincarnated into, they are widely considered the weakest and filthiest monsters in the realm, the scum of scum. That's also reflected in his abysmally low stats. Even among the goblins in this cave, he belongs to the lowest percentile in raw power. Lin Tian is a level 5 goblin with God's blessing. He doesn't have a class yet, and his stat spread is horrible. He has the racial skill of *gene devour*, and is equipped with a rough stone knife. His overall combat power is only 30 points. In the past few days, he learned there is a surefire way for goblins to get stronger, and that is through mating. Goblins have the ability to strengthen themselves through constant reproduction, but their race is incapable of producing female offspring. To reproduce, they must mate with other female creatures, leading them to a life of constant plundering and raiding. However, Lin Tian used to be a human from the modern world. Doing such horrific things is deplorable to him. Kelia noticed his discomfort and told him not to worry. After spending these days together, she understood what was going on in his mind. Lin Tian was different, and he didn't want to live among these vile goblins. Just one look in his miserable eyes, and she knew she had hit the nail on the head. She assured him that when the Night Order came to rescue her, she would tell the troops that Lin Tian had saved her. The Night Order was known to be fair and just. They would certainly let Lin Tian live peacefully in the village. Now that he thought about it, the idea didn't seem too bad. The lady had brought up a feasible plan. Even if he couldn't activate his system, they just needed to hold out until the humans found the lair and rescued Kelia, putting her under protection. He could survive first, and then slowly figure out how to activate the system. Before all that, however, they would need to fight off some bastards. The other goblins had probably figured out where the prey was stashed and would be coming back for more. Lin Tian hurriedly instructed Kelia, the pink-haired lady, to hide in their designated spot behind the rocks. She watched as Lin Tian brought out his rough stone knife. A desperate Gonar goblin was maniacally running away from humans, fervently looking for something to mate with in order to get stronger and avoid death. Fortunately, the desperate but straightforward movement was easy to predict, and Lin Tian swiftly slashed the Gonar goblin's throat open. At least now they knew that some humans had entered the lair. Those humans might be here to rescue Kelia. She immediately got up and ran toward the cave's exit, expecting to see the rescue team, the mighty Holy Order. Lin Tian followed closely behind her. Upon reaching the spot where the action was happening, they watched as a knight, wearing heavy armor and a resplendent cloak, cut down multiple goblins at once with a sword chi /*. Lin Tian didn't know whether to feel fearful or relieved to see such a powerful human. Loader, the knight, was a level 25 human swordsman with a massive stat spread. His skills included sword chi **, sword dance **, and the holy skill sword return to heaven **. Equipped with the judgment sword and platinum armor, his overall combat power was 400 points. Comparing that to Lin Tian's meager 30 points was staggering. This was Lin Tian's first time seeing such high attributes since he had been transported to this world. Is this loader guy really human? Kelia didn't hesitate. She ran up to the knight, smiling, waving, and calling him commander. Meanwhile, Lin Tian looked at the dead goblins strewn all over the place. Then, he lifted his gaze and saw something even more alarming. Loader had raised his judgment sword, seemingly intending to slice Kelia, the woman Lin Tian had been protecting for days. The little outcast goblin barely dodged the slash, using all his strength to push Kelia out of the sword's trajectory. They clumsily landed on the side, the pain of hitting the floor hard preferable to being cut in half. Lin Tian was confused and alarmed. Weren't these people supposed to be here for a rescue operation? Why were they turning their blades on a fellow human? Maybe it was because the cave was too dark, and they mistook Kelia for a goblin. Loader looked down at the two, who had disgracefully dodged his attack. Kelia tried to appeal to the commander, introducing herself as Kelia. However, Loader, the scum knight, coldly told her to shut her mouth. Of course, he already knew who she was, but Loader had assumed that she had been defiled by the goblins. She might even be carrying a little evil goblin spawn at this point. He found it ridiculous that such a filthy thing expected mercy from a respected knight. Brazenly, he told the poor girl to repent for her sins to the Great Holy Mother. Kelia, feeling scared and helpless, tugged on the commander's cloak, pleading. She insisted that although she had been captured, she was not defiled by the goblins. She pointed at Lin Tian, asserting that because of this brave little goblin, she had been kept safe and away from the rest of the lair. Loder merely scoffed at her explanation. He proclaimed that if she was going to make up stories, she should at least make them believable. Only a fool would believe that a goblin would protect a human. Loder declared that Kelya should meet her end along with these lowly and hateful creatures. Lin Tian couldn't believe it. Is this really the morality of humans in this world? Driven by instinct, he grabbed Kelya and made a run for the exit at the other side of the cave. Using a simple wooden club, he intended to clash against Loder's judgment sword, hoping to buy just a little more time. This was not the outcome he had expected at all. Just as Loder's blade was about to cleave him in half, a mysterious glow shot into the room, illuminating the entire cave. An angelic voice called out, telling Loder to wait, and the knight complied, stopping his attacks and falling silent. Meanwhile, Lin Tian found himself encased in a golden light of protection. A blonde woman wearing a holy veil and controlling the golden magic, surrounded by heavily armored soldiers, appeared. There was something strange about Lin Tian, she thought. Kelya, overjoyed, crawled toward the angelic woman, whom she addressed as the holy maiden Iferia. Iferia accepted her with open arms and lifted Kelya off the ground, handing her to Commander Loder. Then, she turned her attention to the goblin encased in her golden magic. She asked Lin Tian if he could understand her words. As far as Lin Tian knew, this woman was indeed the holy maiden Iferia, the spokesperson of the temple Kelya had told him about. If he wanted to leave this place, she might be his only hope. Lin Tian stood up and confirmed the identity of the holy maiden. He asserted that he was not a monster of this world. He used to be human, but had become a goblin because of a bizarre accident. He promised he could explain everything if the Holy Order would take him with them. Loder had to admit that the little goblin did seem a lot smarter than the rest he had slaughtered. Intelligent goblins were extremely rare. Iferia added that goblins were usually stupid and lowly creatures that couldn't speak and think fluently. With that in mind, this little one might be a gift from the Holy Mother. The Holy Maiden gently looked at Kelya and confirmed whether the goblin was harmless or not. The lady vigorously defended Lin Tian, saying that not only did he not hurt her, but he also protected her from the other goblins and provided her with food. Iferia smiled and decided that since the goblin was so special, they could take him back to the town. However, they would conduct thorough studies before making a final decision. She stared down at Lin Tian and asked if he would be okay with that arrangement. With no other choice, he trusted the Holy Maiden, known to be a kind and empathetic figure, and agreed to tag along with the Holy Order. He was relieved to finally meet someone willing to listen to reason. Staying in this lair only meant death. He might as well go to the human town and prove his innocence. Iferia raised her hand and made a bizarre gesture, and with that slight movement, the golden sphere holding Lin Tian dissolved. She turned around and ordered everyone to leave the cave. Lin Tian walked up to Iferia to thank her for her kindness, promising to repay her properly soon. However, a twisted, smug smile appeared on the Holy Maiden's face. Lin Tian suddenly heard the sound of a blade piercing through flesh and smelled fresh blood painting the floor. Loder had stabbed Kelya in the stomach. The moment Lin Tian turned around to see what was happening, he was greeted by the horrifying sight of the woman, who had survived and held onto the hope of rescue, falling to the ground at the hands of her fellow humans. Loder must have thought Kelya was carrying a goblin offspring, and that was why he had stabbed her. Lin Tian was speechless, frozen in place, utterly horrified by the dark side of humanity. Then, he heard Iferia's angelic voice demanding that Lin Tian repay her well when they reached the town.